Hello everyone. In this video, we'll be discussing about the fundamental rights of the Indian Constitution. This video is a part of a series of lectures which will be made on the newest edition of the Indian Polity by Lakshmi Kant, the 6th edition. Please subscribe to the channel and press the bell icon to get instant updates on new lectures. Introduction to fundamental rights. As we all know, the Indian Constitution is divided into various parts, and each part corresponds to one particular theme, and the fundamental rights are covered under part 3 of the Indian Constitution, and it covers articles 12 to 15. And the fundamental rights are inspired from the Constitution of United States, that is the Bill of Rights. The Constitution of USA has a part called the Bill of Rights where the fundamental rights are mentioned. So Indian Constitution has been inspired, the fundamental rights are inspired from the Bill of Rights of the USA. And also the part 3 of the Constitution is described as the Magna Carta of India. So what is Magna Carta? Magna Carta is a charter of rights issued by King John of England in the year 1215. This is the first written document in the world related to fundamental rights of citizens. So Magna Carta is a document by King John, and the fundamental rights of India is similar to that. So that's why it is called the Magna Carta of India. Now, coming to the relation between fundamental rights and political democracy. The fundamental rights are meant for promoting the ideal of political democracy. How this is achieved? This is achieved through the following means. The fundamental rights prevent the establishment of an authoritarian and despotic rule in the country and protect the liberties and freedoms of the people against the invasion of the state. So by protecting the liberties and rights of the people, the fundamental rights are said to promote the ideal of political democracy. Now, why the fundamental rights are named so? It is named so because of two reasons. The first reason being they are guaranteed and protected by the Constitution, which is the fundamental law of the land. And the second reason is that they are fundamental in the sense that they are most essential for the all-round development of the individuals. Without fundamental rights, we can't develop. Without right to equality, the individuals cannot develop. Or without the freedom of without the right to freedom, like freedom of movement, freedom of speech and expression, various freedoms, without that the all-round development of the individuals is not possible. Thus the fundamental rights are named so because of these two reasons. Originally the Constitution provided for 7 fundamental rights. They are right to equality, right to freedom, right against exploitation, right to freedom of religion, cultural and educational rights, right to property, and the right to constitutional remedies. So the articles, the corresponding articles under which each of these rights are covered are also mentioned here. This should be by hearted. It's very important for prelims and it should be by hearted. So this we are talking about the original Constitution. But presently the Constitution has only 6 rights. The right to property under Article 31, which is mentioned here, it has been deleted from the list of fundamental rights by the 44th Amendment Act, which was done in 1978. Now it is a part of a legal right under Article 300A in Part 12 of the Constitution. So at present, there are only 6 fundamental rights in the Constitution. Now, let us discuss about the features of the fundamental rights. So one of the feature being, some of them are available only to the citizens, while others are available to persons, whether they are citizens, foreigners, and even legal persons. Legal persons include companies or corporations. So we'll be discussing about this in a later slide. We will be discussing which all articles are available for citizens only and which all are available for all persons. Coming to the second feature, they are not absolute but they are qualified. What does this mean? This means that these articles, these fundamental rights are not absolute. That means that the state can impose reasonable restrictions on them. And how a restriction is reasonable or not, whether a restriction is reasonable or not, it will be decided by the Supreme Court of the country. Also, All of them are available against the arbitrary action of the state. However, some of them are also available against action of private individuals. So as we have seen, like right to equality, right to freedom and all, it's actually against the tyranny of the state. But there are some articles such as the untouchability, like again, like abolition of untouchability, which is mentioned under Article 17. It is against the private individuals also. So this is another feature. Now, the fourth feature being some of them are negative in character. Negative in character in the sense that they put limitations. The state should not discriminate. There should not be titles. So, in this manner, limitations are placed. So, they are called as negative. While some of them are positive in nature, conferring certain privileges on the person. Positive in the sense they give privileges to some persons. For example, like minorities are being given privileges under Article 29 and 30. So this comes under positive in nature. Also, the fifth feature is they are justiciable. Justiciable in the sense that it allows the people, the persons, to move to the courts for the enforcement if they are violated. So, if a right is justiciable and if it is violated, the person can move to the court and ask the court to enforce the right. Sixth feature being they are defended and guaranteed by the Supreme Court, which means that if the fundamental right is violated, the person can directly go to the Supreme Court without any appeal. Usually, if there is any cases, we go from the lower courts to the upper courts, right? First, we'll go to some district court, then high court, and then through appeal, we go to the Supreme Court. But here, in case of fundamental rights, if they are violated, the person can directly go to the Supreme Court. Now, seventh feature being they are not sacrosanct or permanent, which means that the parliament can curtail or repeal them through a constitutional amendment. So, it in simple terms, a parliament can repeal the constitution, a fundamental right through a constitutional amendment. Now, this is a very important feature. They can be suspended during the operation of a national emergency except the rights guaranteed under Article 20 and 21, which means that Article 20 and 21 cannot be suspended at all. But all other rights can be suspended when a national emergency is in operation. Also, the six rights guaranteed by Article 19 they can be suspended only when emergency is declared on the grounds of war or external aggression. As we all know, there are national emergency can be declared on three grounds. It can be on war or external aggression and even armed rebellion. So the war or external aggression is said to be external emergency, whereas armed rebellion is said to be internal emergency. So what it is said is Article 19 can be suspended only when the national emergency is based on external reasons, not for internal reasons. Now, the Constitution also places certain restrictions on the fundamental rights, which are discussed here. Article 31A, 31B, and 31C gives restrictions to the fundamental rights. What are these articles? More details about it we'll be discussing in the later slides. Also, similarly, members of the armed forces, paramilitary forces, police forces, intelligence forces, and analogous services, these services are also given limited fundamental rights. So this is mentioned under Article 33. And whenever a martial law is in place, then also the fundamental rights will be restricted. It is mentioned under Article 34. These articles we'll be discussing more in detail in the coming slides. Now, coming to the article itself, we have seen that fundamental rights range from Article 12 to Article 35. Now, coming to Article 12. Article 12 provides for the definition of the state. Whenever the Constitution is speaking about a state, what comes under state? It is defined under Article 12. According to it, the state includes the following: Government and Parliament of India, that is the executive, legislative organs of the union government, as well as the government legislature of the states, that is the executive and legislative organs of the state government. All local authorities, that is municipalities, panchayats, all those things, and all other authorities, that is a statutory or non-statutory authorities like LIC, ONGC, SAIL, etc. Also, according to the Supreme Court, even a private body or an agency working as an instrument of the state, it can also fall under the definition of state under Article 12. So what we have to understand from this is that the definition of the state is very wide. It is very wide, and it covers almost every entity which is related to the government or the state. Now coming to Article 13. Article 13 discusses about laws that are inconsistent with the fundamental rights. Article 13 declares that all laws that are inconsistent or in derogation with any of the fundamental rights shall be void. What does it mean? If the fundamental right says something, and if the government makes a law which is against the fundamental right, then the Supreme Court has the authority. The courts have the authority to declare that particular law as null and void. That is the idea which is mentioned here. Further, Article 13 also declares that a constitutional amendment is not a law, hence cannot be challenged. It's a very important concept. A constitutional amendment is not considered as a law. Why? Because if a constitution is amended, if a fundamental right has to be amended, then it should be a constitutional amendment, right? So the idea is simple here. You can amend the fundamental rights only through a constitutional amendment, and it won't be considered as a law, and it won't be curtailed by the courts. This is the idea here. However, the Supreme Court held that in Keshavananda Bharati case of 1973, that a constitutional amendment can be challenged on the ground that if it violates a fundamental right that is part of the basic structure of the constitution. There are some rights which form the basic structure of the constitution. For example, equality is there, secularism is there. So similarly, there are some parts which form the basic structure of the constitution. So if the constitutional amendment is trying to take away any of the basic structure of the constitution, then the courts can declare that particular amendment as void. So this judgment is very important. We'll discuss more about the case in further slides. Now, as we already told in features, some of the fundamental rights are available only to citizens, and some are available to all persons, that is citizens, foreigners, and even legal persons. Let us see, to remember the like which all articles are available for citizens only and for other like all persons. We can just remember these articles. Article 14, Article 20 to 28, that is 20, 21, 22 till 28. These two articles are available to all persons, not only citizens but even to foreigners, except enemy aliens. Enemy aliens are citizens of those countries who have taken part in a war against India, for example China, Pakistan and all. So fundamental rights available to both citizens and foreigners are mentioned below, Article 14 and Article 20 till 28. So this can be asked as a prelims question. Please remember this. So we'll be continuing more about fundamental rights in the other next part. If you have liked the video, please press the like button, subscribe the channel, and even press the bell icon for more instant updates on the videos. Thank you so much.